Hey everyone, and welcome. We're going to jump right in today because we're talking about a huge shift happening in how we all build websites. For about the last decade, there's been one dominant way of doing things, but that's all being challenged right now. It's a really interesting story, so let's get into it.
And this quote right here from Hansraj Rana, it just nails it. It's basically saying, hey, a counter movement is picking up steam. And this isn't just some small debate. It's a real challenge to the way we've been building apps, questioning all the complexity we've added over the years. We're looking at a comeback of some older ideas, but, with a modern twist.
All right, so before we get into the new stuff, we've got to look back. Where have we been for the past 10 years or so? Well, we've been living in the age of the single-page application, or the SPA, basically a world built on a mountain of JavaScript.
And this timeline really shows how it all happened. The idea of web components popped up way back in 2011. But the real game changer? That was 2013, when Facebook dropped React. That's what really lit the fuse. And from then on, we were officially in the SP era. It took over everything.
So what exactly is this component-based idea? Honestly, the best way to think about it is like digital Lego blocks. Seriously. Instead of having one massive tangled mess of code, you build your site from these small, reusable pieces. Your search bar, that's a Lego block. The like button, another block. This was a huge step forward, right? It made building complicated user interfaces so much more manageable. And yeah, this model gave us these amazing, super smooth app-like experiences right in our browsers. No more of those jarring full-page reloads every time you clicked something. But, and this is a big but, it came with some serious trade-offs. We got all this cool interactivity, but we paid for it with complexity. Suddenly, we had these massive JavaScript files that could take forever to load. And we had to deal with state management, which is really just a fancy term for the nightmare of keeping track of all your data as it changes. It got complicated fast.
And all that complexity, that's exactly what lit the fire for this counter movement. A bunch of developers started looking at this and asking, wait a minute, do we really need all of this machinery for every single website? And that brings us to the other side of this story, the comeback of hypermedia. This is really the core question, the big what if that's driving this whole thing. What if you could get that modern, interactive feel, but with way, way less JavaScript? And for a lot of folks, the answer is a little library called HTMX. Now, the genius of HTMX is its whole philosophy. Instead of reaching for a JavaScript file to handle what happens when a user clicks a button, you just add a few special instructions right into your HTML. It basically gives your good old HTML superpowers, letting it do things that used to require a ton of custom JS.
Okay, so this is the absolute key difference. And it's all about architecture. A traditional SPA, like React, is like getting a Lego kit in the mail. The browser gets a box of raw data, that's the JSON, and a big instruction manual, that's the JavaScript. And it has to sit there and build the final product itself. The HTMX way, it's totally different. It's like having a magic box. The browser just says, hey server, I need a new comment section. And the server sends back a perfectly built, ready-to-go comment section made of HTML. All the thinking, all the logic happens on the server.
And this server-first approach has some pretty awesome benefits. First off, less JavaScript just means less complexity, period. It's less code you have to write, test, and worry about. And when your logic is all in one place, back on the server, finding and fixing bugs gets way easier. Plus, you're not forcing users to download a giant JavaScript file right at the start, so your site feels faster. Oh, and search engines love it, because they get plain old HTML, which they know exactly how to read.
Let's make this super concrete. Look at this example of a simple click counter. On the left, you just got a regular HTML button. But see those special HX attributes? That's HTMX. It's basically telling the button, hey, when someone clicks you, send a post request over to /increment. Then, whatever HTML you get back, just swap it into the spot with the ID count. Now look at the backend code on the right. It's tiny. It just adds 1 to the count and sends back the new number as a tiny snippet of HTML. That's it. No JSON, no client-side templates, no virtual DOM. Simple.
Okay, so a really common mistake people make is thinking this whole thing is anti-JavaScript. It's not. Not at all. It's about being smart. It's about using the right tool for the right job. Let's break down what that actually looks like.
So think about any time a user does something that needs to talk to your server, right? Submitting a form, validating some data, loading the next page of search results. For all of that stuff, you use HTMX. It is literally built for that exact kind of server interaction. It's its bread and butter.
But what about the stuff that happens only in the browser? Things that have nothing to do with your server's data, like opening or closing a drop-down menu or toggling between tabs. For that, you'd use a different tool, something like Alpine.js. It would be super clunky and slow to ask the server for permission just to open a menu, right? So you use a tiny, lightweight library like Alpine to handle those purely client-side sprinkles of interactivity. It's the perfect partner for HTMX.
So here's the breakdown, plain and simple. HTMX is your go-to for anything that needs the server. Forms, fetching data, infinite scroll, you name it. Alpine.js is for the little UI flourishes that live entirely on the client, showing and hiding things, managing tabs, stuff like that. They're not fighting each other. They're on the same team, just playing different positions.
So does this mean the future is just HTMX and Alpine from now on? Absolutely not. The cool thing is, this whole debate hasn't just created a new option, it's pushed all the existing tools to get better. The web development world in 2026 is way more interesting than just a simple this versus that fight.
I mean, just look at the spectrum of tools we have now. You've still got React, the absolute giant, which is now evolving with things like server components to do more work on this, well, server. Then you have something totally different like Svelte, which isn't a library, it's a compiler. It takes your code and spits out highly optimized, minimal JavaScript. Then there's Astro with its wild islands architecture, which tries to ship zero JavaScript by default, and Quick, which is pioneering this idea of resumability for almost instantaneous app load times. The innovation is just incredible.
And this really brings us to the most important point of this whole discussion. It's not about finding the one best framework that wins. It just doesn't exist. The number one skill for any web developer today is understanding the pros and cons of all these different approaches. So, how do you actually pick one? Well, you start by asking yourself the right questions. What am I actually building? Is it a super complex dashboard or a simple content site? How much does that first load performance matter? What does my team already know and like using? Answering these questions honestly will point you to the right tool way better than just chasing whatever's popular this week.
And that really leaves us with this final thought. The modern web isn't about finding the one single correct answer anymore. It's about asking the right question. And that question is, what is the absolute simplest tool that will solve my problem and solve it well? If you can answer that, you're not just following trends, you're thinking like a modern web architect, and that's what it's all about.